So let's see. Talking about yesterday, chapter 19, I wrote the words unraveled and prevailed. So, unraveled, this is where, remember that Edward is wearing a sweater that Bull made for him out of a beanie hat, right? And he cut the holes for the head and for the shoulder, the arms. So it says, Edward's ears became soggy. He didn't care, so time was passing. His sweater had almost completely unraveled, and it didn't bother him. So when something unravels, it's where it happens in knitting. So if you have your stitches and you take the needle out and then you take it apart, and the string comes out, and then there's the loose stitches, that's unraveling. So if something also breaks in the middle of a sweater and it starts coming apart from the middle out, that's unraveling too. So his sweater is unraveling. He's with Sarah, but he doesn't care. He dances, and then at the end of the chapter is the really, really sad scene, or in the middle of the chapter, where Sarah Ruth dies. Because, like I said, I think she has tuberculosis. Because when she coughed up blood, that's a sign of tuberculosis. So the father insists that she's his girl, and then Bryce gets really mad because the father was so mean to the kids, and then he's crying. So it's one of those things, kind of like Beverly, where she acts really tough, like the father's tough, but then inside he's was very, very devastated when his daughter died. So when Bryce screams, "She ain't yours! You can't take her! She ain't yours!" It says the father was bigger and stronger. He prevailed. So you can probably tell from the sentence, he prevailed means he won. He was more strong. He wrapped her up and carried her away. And then Bryce takes Jangles and he leaves, and they're going to Memphis. So all I wrote for chapter 20 was the question, where's Memphis? And I'm sure all of you looked it up and you found out that Memphis is in Tennessee. So they're in the South. Tennessee is in the south of the United States. And then they're in the diner, and the owner came out with a spatula, and I'm sure you know, because that's a cooking tool, and I'm sure your mom uses it. So it's the thing you could use, where's my hand, to turn over pancakes or to scrape a pan, or, it's something that a cook will use. And then at the end, that was really sad. Edward's world went black. So I did ask you to make a prediction. What do you think happened? And here's the picture at the beginning of chapter 22. It was dusk, and Edward was walking down a sidewalk. He was walking on his own, putting one foot in front of the other, without any assistance from anybody. He was wearing a fine suit made of red silk. He walked down the sidewalk, and then he turned onto a path that led up to a house with lighted windows. I know this house, thought Edward. This is Abeline's house. I'm on Egypt Street. Lucy came running out the front door of the house, barking and jumping and wagging her tail. Down, girl, said a deep, gruff voice. Edward looked up, and there was Bull standing at the door. Hello, Malone, said Bull. Hello, good old rabbit pie. We've been waiting for you. Bull swung the door wide, and Edward walked inside. Abeline was there, and Nellie, and Lawrence, and Bryce. Susanna, called Nellie. Jangles, said Bryce. Edward, said Abeline. She held out her arms to him, but Edward stood still. He looked around the room. Are you searching for Sarah Ruth? Bryce asked. Edward nodded. You got to go outside if you want to see Sarah Ruth, said Bryce. So they all went outside, Lucy and Bull and Nellie and Lawrence and Bryce and Abeline and Edward. Right there, said Bryce. He pointed up at the stars. Yep, said Lawrence. That is the Sarah Ruth constellation. He picked Edward up and put him on his shoulder. You can see it right there. Edward felt a pang of sorrow, deep and sweet and familiar. Why did she have to be so far away? If only I had wings, he thought, I could fly to her. Out of the corner of his eye, the rabbit saw something flutter. Edward looked over his shoulder, and there they were, the most magnificent wings he had ever seen, orange and red and blue and yellow. and they were on his back. They belonged to him. They were his wings. What a wonderful night this was. He was walking on his own. He had an elegant new suit, and now he had wings. He could fly anywhere, do anything. Why had he never realized it before? His heart soared inside of him. He spread his wings and flew off Lawrence's shoulders, out of his hands, and up into the nighttime sky, toward the stars, toward Sarah Ruth. "No!" shouted Abilene. "Catch him!" said Bryce. Edward flew higher. Lucy barked. "Malone!" shouted Bull. And with a terrific lunge, he grabbed hold of Edward's feet and pulled him out of the sky and wrestled him to the earth. "You can't go yet," said Bull. "Stay with us," said Abilene. Edward beat his wings, but it was no use. Bull held him firmly to the ground. "Stay with us," repeated Abilene. Edward started to cry. "I couldn't stand to lose you again," said Nellie. "Neither could I," said Abilene. "It would break my heart." And Lucy bent her face to Edward's. She licked his tears away. That's the end of that chapter 22. So, I want you to think, and please put it in the comments, where is it that he's trying to go when he puts the wings on? Like, what does it represent? Because to me, it seems like there was another book of Kate DiCamillo books where there was a similar type of vision of somebody trying to go up, and then there was a struggle, and then the person stayed down on Earth. Let's see if you guys remember, and tell me in the comment. All right, so we'll move on to chapter 23. And here's a picture. Looks like, oops. It looks like Edward is in a hospital or like some kind of a workshop with a person leaning over him. So let's see. Chapter 23. Exceedingly well made, said the man who was running a warm cloth over Edward's face. A work of art, I would say. A surpassingly, unbelievably dirty work of art, but art nonetheless. And dirt can be dealt with, just as your broken head has to be dealt with. Edward looked into the eyes of a man. "Ah, there you are," said the man. "I can see that you are listening now. Your head was broken. I fixed it. I brought you back from the world of the dead." "My heart," thought Edward, "my heart is broken." No need to thank me," the man said. "It's my job, quite literally. Allow me to introduce myself. I am LuciusClarke, doll mender. Your head, may I tell you? Will it upset you? Well, I always say the truth must be met head on. No pun intended. Your head, young sir, was in 21 pieces. 21 pieces? Edward repeated mindlessly. LuciusClarke nodded. 21, he said. All modesty aside, I must admit that a lesser doll mender without my skills, might not have been able to rescue you, but let's not speak of what might have been. Let us speak instead of what is. You are whole. You have been pulled back from the brink of oblivion by your humble servant, LuciusClarke. And here LuciusClarke put a hand on his chest and bowed deeply over Edward. This was quite a speech to wake up to, and Edward lay on his back, trying to absorb it. He was on a wooden table. He was in a room with sunshine pouring in from high windows. His head apparently had been in 21 pieces, and now was put back together into one. He was not wearing a red suit. In fact, he had no clothes on at all. He was naked again, and he did not have wings. And then he remembered Bryce, the diner, Neil swinging him through the air. Bryce. You are wondering perhaps about your young friend, said Lucius, the one with the continually running nose. Yes, he brought you here weeping, begging for my assistance. Put him together again, he said. Put him together again. I told him, I said, young sir, I am a businessman. I can put your rabbit back together again for a price. The question is, can you pay the price? He could not. Of course he could not. He said that he could not. I told him then that he had two options, only two. The first option being that he seek assistance elsewhere. Option two was that I would fix you to the very best of my considerable abilities, and then you would become mine, his no longer, but mine. Here Lucius fell silent. He nodded, agreeing with himself. Two options only, he said, and your friend chose option two. He gave you up so that you could be healed. Extraordinary, really. Bryce, thought Edward. LuciusClarke clapped his hands together. But no worries, my friend, no worries. I fully intend to keep up my end of the bargain. I will restore you to what I perceive to be your former glory. You shall have rabbit fur ears and a rabbit fur tail. Your whiskers will be repaired and replaced, your eyes repainted to a bright and stunning blue, and you will be clothed in the finest of suits. And then someday I will reap the return on my investment in you. All in good time, all in good time. In the doll business, we have a saying. There is real time and there is doll time. You, my fine friend, have entered doll time. And that is the end of chapter 23. Oh, wow. I'm going to show you the picture at the beginning of chapter 24. Oops. Look who it is. Our friend Bryce. So what did Bryce do? I want you to think about a few questions. What did Bryce do for Edward in that chapter, who he calls Jangles? Okay, we can tell a doll mender. It's kind of like a doll hospital. Remember I was telling you there used to be a doll hospital in San Francisco? So this man, LuciusClarke, runs a doll hospital. What was the other thought that I had? His head. Oh, so we found out what happened. His head was broken into 21 pieces by that mean cafe diner owner, Neil. So we shall see tomorrow what is going to happen to Edward. In chapter 22, remember there was another thing about the constellations where Sarah Ruth, who died, apparently was turned into a constellation. So that was kind of cool. Let me see what the last chapter of the book is. What number? Chapter 27. So we'll finish the book. We'll for sure finish it next week, and then we'll start a new book, which will be exciting. So have a nice evening Thursday, and I'm going to put up the chapter in a little while, the chapters. So see you tomorrow.